Well, why don't we go ahead and get started? So the top of the agenda was the TST election, which is coming up. You've seen email from Michelle, so I would refer you to that. I think we have a fairly complete list of eligible voters. We've got so many repos and very little process for automating everything. So we did our best effort, and then if you are in earshot of this and did not get a message saying that you were on that list and you think you should be, then please send Michelle a note, and we'll get that list complete. But I think it's in pretty decent shape.
Larry,
And the other point is that nominations are due per Michelle's most recent email, if I'm not misquoting it, on Friday. At this point, we do have 4 nominees and we do have 4 openings, but that does not mean we can't have more nominees if you are interested or know of someone that is. And just to be sure, can anyone hear my voice?
I can hear.
We do.
Yes.
When I don't hear anything, I wonder if I'm speaking into the ether. The other ether.
Good morning, everybody.
All right. Oh, there's Gabriel. Good.
Yeah, sorry we are late.
Yeah, no problem. Infrastructure, anything else on the election? Anyone has questions, comments? Okay, infrastructure. Eric is on the call, I see. And I know you're working on something with GitHub Actions, consolidating them on the OMEC repo. It's Gabriel's question. And Eric, any update?
Not at this point. I'm not immediately familiar with the task of consolidating the GitHub Actions. Oh, is that for the reusable workflows?
Yeah, I believe.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Sorry, I
That
wasn't
was
thinking of
that
that
was
as
my summary of it.
consolidation. Sorry.
No,
Yeah,
it
okay.
was for the reusable. So instead of having, the same GitHub action in multiple
Yes.
repositories, just to having a single one. Yeah. So that's
Yes.
what I meant with consolidation. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So no update there?
No, do we have a Jira ticket for that?
I don't think so.
Yeah, we
Okay.
should.
I think I just kind of mentioned. I think I just asked you whether it's doable, and you say yes, but then I didn't do anything else besides that.
Okay. Yeah, if there's work you need from me, let's just make sure we get a Jira ticket in, because it'll otherwise fall off my radar. I'll put in chat the link
Okay.
for Jira.
Sure. Thanks.
Well, so there should be, hopefully, you might, Eric, just double check that
Fantastic.
the link we have up here is the right one. Well, let me double check.
Yep, that's it.
Okay, good.
Okay, excellent.
So the second point is it's related, since you did indicate that you have some experience with GitHub Actions. We also have one of the subcomponents that is partially migrated to GitHub Actions, but there was one more step to take, the publishing of artifact step. And it would be exactly the same thing you're already doing for the OMEC project. So I think it's an incremental, not terribly big thing, but I will go ahead and file the ticket and point you. Let me just be specific here, LLP to file a ticket. And on the other one, Gabriel to file a ticket. Okay, and I'll fill you in on the details on that one.
Okay, sounds good.
Right. I don't know if there's any other infrastructure related issues. Does anyone know of anything? Okay. Moving on to the core. Gabriel, AJ.
Yeah, so I think AJ is not gonna be able to join today, just in case, based on what he texted me early in the morning. So what we have in the core is like the most relevant part was some work done by the canonical team, where as part of release 16, the TID is allocated by the UPF. So the PRs basically were to move the TAD allocation from the SMF to the UPF, and that's something that was completed, reviewed, and now it's merged as part of the Z core. Then something else I'm working on there is, at the moment we enable by default security for the service-based interface. So basically, it's enabled TLS by default. But as a first solution was just using some certificates or self-signed certificates that are created locally. But there was no entity to manage those certificates in the case that they expire, they need to be renewed and things like that. So that's what I'm kind of trying to enable, to integrate Cert Manager as a subchart of the Helm charts. The only thing that I'm trying to figure out at the moment is the best way to deploy. So I have this deployed now, up and running and working, but I would like the Cert Manager components to be deploying on its own namespace instead of being using the same OMEC namespace. And that's something I'm trying to figure out what is the best way to do that. But the rest of having this Cert Manager entity kind of managing and kind of like assigning certificates or creating the certificates for the different network functions it's up and running. And the other part I have at least for this week is kind of to continue working on the release upgrade to release 18 for the core. And then overall, we are kind of like up to date with any open PRs that we have. The only thing that is open, I believe, is the scalability PRs from Bilal, but I understand that he's gonna kind of create new, smaller PRs to avoid big PRs. But that's something that's still on Bilal's side. Yeah, besides that, I don't think we have anything else, at least from the core itself. There is a few things that we have done on Run Ramp, but we're gonna touch that
so
later.
but on release 18, can you give us a sense of how that's going? I mean, it's a big step. I just wondered if there's any.
Yeah, so at the moment, as like a few months ago, a couple of months ago, I was kind of like working using the OpenAI generator to kind of try to generate the Go code. So we have a plan developed for this, where first we're going to start with the service-based interface, then we're going to move to the N2 interface, then N4. But the highest priority is the service-based to move to a new release. As part of that, so since the specifications are given on YAML files, there are a few tools that could be used to kind of generate Go code from these YAML files. I was using OpenAI generator, however, it kind of has several limitations, and I haven't been able kind of to replicate what was before with using the this OpenAI generator. So last week I started exploring Swagger. I think it's Swagger Code Gen or something like that, to see whether I can kind of start kind of creating and get some more reasonable out. The limitation with OpenAI generator is that basically there are certain functionalities from OpenAI that are not being properly handled by the OpenAI generator. For example, there are all off, any off, and this one off are not being properly handled, especially when they are nested in loops. That's even makes even things more difficult to automatically handle. And that's what I'm trying to see, whether Swagger Code Gen can help us on that side. if anybody on the call has any inside experience with that, please, more than happy to discuss and see how we can have further progress on this side. Then while working on that part of the release generator, I found there's like a few kind of issues, at least that come from the specs that are not properly created, or there are conflicts. So that's something that I have been also fixing locally. And now at least I know that the code that we can generate properly passes all the checks, but again, the generated code is not actually fully reflected what the specification itself indicates. Again, all related to this all off, any off, and things like that are not properly handled.
All right, thanks.
Mhm.
Anything else on the core?
I don't think anything else, no.
All right. Well, we don't have any of the RAND folks on that I have seen, so we don't have a report there that I know of. Before moving on, though, let me just take a slight detour here and introduce Syed from Penn State, who has joined the call. And I'm doing this in the context of the core. He has been doing some security work. Do you want to just say a word about what you're up to, just to introduce yourself? Sorry to catch you off guard like that.
Hi, Larry. Hi, everyone. This is Syed from Penn State. I'm an assistant professor, and I mostly work on network and system security. So we have been working on the security analysis for open source core, RAN, open source, open RAN implementations like ORNSC and SDRAN. And we have been developing several dynamic analysis tools and automated reasoning tools to analyze the security of them. And mainly I'm interested in a recent call by NSF that they would like to improve the security of the open source projects. So since I have been using Free5GC for my project, and also Free5GC is sort of the base for SD core, and also we have been using SDRAN. I was wondering whether we can form a team to sort of improve the security for these open source projects. So yeah, that's pretty much from my side. That is the main reason I'm here.
Yeah, thank you. And just I know I mentioned a couple of the other universities that are in this space that you might talk to, but Intel Labs, also heavily represented here on the call, does work in security/core, so that would be another set of people to connect with.
Awesome. Yep, that'd be fantastic. Thank you, Larry.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know also if you mentioned Nate Foster at Cornell, maybe, right, in security aspect.
So
I didn't quite catch your point, Christian.
Sorry, you mentioned few universities. I don't know if you mentioned Cornell University and Nate Foster.
Yeah, no, I didn't. I did not. I was in my brief exchange with Syed this morning. I was just focusing on Iowa State and Purdue that are doing core related work, not security related. But in terms of security specifically, yeah, Cornell and Intel Labs are probably where the most of the action is right now.
Yep, thanks so much for the info.
Yeah, see, I'm not sure whether I missed the security side is like software security, like communication security, or like end-to-end security from the slice perspective, or is there
that's
any
a great
specific
question.
area, or all of them?
Yeah, we are mostly focusing on the software security side.
Okay.
More specifically, for Free5GC or SDRAN, I know that they are developed with Go programming language, which is memory safe. But in our recent study, I can share the paper later after the meeting. But in our recent study, we have seen that still in the existing implementation, there are some null pointer dereferencing bugs or array index out of bound, which, I mean, using those bugs, adversary can at most crash the network functions or the microservices. So some kind of launch denial service attacks. And we call them memory safety bugs. And we have reported several of these bugs to SDRAN and also Free5GC. And another kind of bugs, of course, you know, that logical bugs like authentication bypass and missing checks. So we have found several such issues. So we are mostly interested in developing some kind of automated dynamic analysis, such as stateful fuzzing, those kind of techniques, and integrate those kind of techniques to the CI/CD pipeline.
Oh, okay, that would be great.
Yeah.
But you haven't reported anything regarding the SD core, right? At least I haven't seen anything so far.
Sorry, I couldn't follow you.
Oh, whether you have make any reports on the SD core.
We reported to the Free5GC, but not to the SD core, because yeah, I mean, we didn't test SD core directly, but we know that SD core is based on Free5GC. Probably that's a sort of a you spinned out from Free5GC. Yeah.
Just
originally...
FYI on that SD core forked from the other project several years ago, and we're not tracking them. So at this point, they're completely independent. They're largely independent.
Yeah, they have independently evolved. So yeah, if you have anything to report, please.
Yeah, sure.
Let us know. And
so we reported several issues for the SDRAN. Probably you can find the sort of white paper using this link I have shared just in the messenger. But we are still working on SDRAN, and I mean, if SD core is not of your interest, totally fine. I'm also equally interested in SDRAN because these are one of the two open source implementations that are available for OpenRAN. So definitely that is of my interest. And if you are also interested in forming a team, that would be great.
Yeah, no, we are centrally interested in knowing, any issues that may happen with the core, with the overall the Aether project, right? So
yeah, also I wanted to know like what is the current needs, because I usually don't participate in this kind of meeting, but I am knowledgeable about Free5GC. What is the current status? So I mean, if we would like to improve the security of, let's say, software security side of SDRAN, what things we can do? Any thoughts?
Well, so first of all, the key developers on SDRAN are not on the call today, so that's the first thing. But I mean,
so from the SD core side, if you have anything like that, we can include in the pipeline, the CID pipeline, to kind of automate some of that testing. More than happy to kind of add it in there.
Yeah,
so,
sure, definitely. And our testing is basically focused on security side, not on the performance side or functionality
right.
side.
Yeah. But you mentioned that you can do something like that automated through the CI/CD, right?
Right.
Yeah, if we can do that, that would be great. So we have enabled in all of the different projects, SD core, SDRAN, and ROC. GitHub Actions, at least the dependabot, to kind of monitor for dependencies, version of dependencies, and things like that. Overall, we are kind of like up to date on that side. But of course, if you find some more specifics about like nil pointers or things like that, so of course we would like to automate that such that new PRs don't introduce that, and of course fix whatever is already there.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Gabriel. I appreciate it.
All right, yeah, thank you. Thanks for the introduction, and yeah, this is the right. So between this call and Slack are where the activity happens. There's email lists, but there's not an awful lot that goes on there. But if you get on Slack, and I can easily get you an invitation to that, I suspect you're not on that. Those are the two places to keep an eye out.
Sure, I'll ping you in this Slack. I think I'm added to the Slack channel, Aether channel.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much, Larry.
Yep.
I'm taking a quick look at the paper that you share. I see a lot about the RAN. I don't see much stuff on the core or
So it's all about the security analysis of REAK for
exactly. Okay.
SDRAN
Okay.
and
That's
Open RAN.
okay.
So there's the paper I'm talking about for core that is under submission. But if you are interested, I can share that draft.
Yes, yeah. I mean, if you want directly to open any report any issues in the repositories, please feel free to do so. And or if you have any specific solution, that would be even better. So
Okay. Yeah, sure.
cool. Thank
Definitely,
you.
I will do that. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks.
All right, good. Got a few items on on-ramp. So I'll just quick run through this and then there's a couple of discussion points. I know Gabriel added here. So on-ramp now has been up. Gabriel updated the version numbers for the Helm charts for SD core.
Mhm.
And there is now an SRS RAN blueprint, although the documentation and the integration tests are still pending. But if you wanted to take a look at it, it's there.
Yeah, but Larry, just to clarify, the SRS Run blueprint for now only supports simulation mode. So we are in the
Right.
process of enabling the with an RU as well.
Right.
And the Helm charts using later version 2.0, the meaning there is two primary things. One is by default using secure service-based interface, meaning TLS among the different network functions. And the second one is the different configurations, the configuration files used in the system was also basically properly updated, meaning that they are YAML files, parameters to where the configuration files are located and things like that. That's included in this latest version of the Helm chart for the SD core.
Good. So next two bullets are actually the next three bullets are questions, and I think they're yours. So
yep. So for the SD core, so since we used to have a mix of default branch name, master, and main, basically we make them the same name, basically make it uniform across all the different repositories. Now is main. So that basically simplify my automation locally by having just a single name. Since we are also doing a few changes in on-ramp as well, like the SRS run and a few more things that we're doing, having a master branch name also is kind of screwing with my automation part. So as part of that motivation, I was wondering whether there is any thoughts on kind of having a single default name across all the different projects. And I was saying main, but basically that's what GitHub default is now using. It used to be master, now it's main. So that's what I was wondering whether there is any.
well, it's yeah. I mean, we've obviously talked about this a few times before. There's no reason not to. It's just a matter of doing it. And I don't know how to give you a schedule for that. So dropping through the next 1, 2, 3 questions, the answer is, from my point of view, the biggest issue right now before making other changes is simply that the integration tests are completely plagued by timing issues. It's very inconsistent, and as a consequence, it's hard to know what's really broken and what's one of these timing issues, if that makes sense. So you see a lot of red because tests didn't run, and then you look more closely and you see 4 out of 5 UEs succeeded, which says that first one didn't come up correctly because MongoDB didn't come up before Kafka, before AMF, or whatever the right dependency ordering is there. I'm hand waving as to the biggest hurdle to making these other changes. And I just can't figure out, and I'm not getting any traction on how to figure out why these timing issues keep plaguing us. If I had to guess, it's actually traces back to Kubernetes, that it's somehow coming up in a state that the very first workload that you put on it is flaky, because it seems to be the case that if you instantiate a second workload, tear down the first one, instantiate a second one, it's much, much more reliable. But that's kind of a guess. I know that doesn't directly answer your question, but that's one of the
Larry, have you tried? So I don't think it's Kubernetes itself. It might be that the core is the components of the core network, meaning that when you deploy for the first time, basically the images are not locally cached, so it needs to go to kind of the Docker Hub to pull them from there and so on, and that may take some time. There is an option in on-ramp to wait for 60 seconds until everything is done. Probably you can extend that to double that size or increase the time to see whether that fixes the issue. But I don't think it's Kubernetes itself. It will be just the time.
Yeah, maybe it's not Kubernetes itself, but well, yeah, I'm not sure. You may be right. You may be right.
Yeah, so take a look at that one. So just increase that time and see whether that helps you on that.
So we've re-implemented a lot of these and maybe trimmed the timing a little bit, but this has always been an issue, even when the timing was ridiculously long. So I can go back and try that again.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so back to your original point. Yeah, we should probably make those all consistent.
Okay. Now,
so the other dependencies, Helm, Kubernetes, those have been updated, but frequently, no, definitely not.
So is there any plan or that doing that or because in this case, I don't want to touch that much because since you have, the automation part, or I don't have an automation system to verify whether any change I'm making works fine, at least across all the different blueprints. Whatever change I do, I always test it with vSIM, but I don't go across all the different blueprints to see if something gets broken or something like that. But
right.
At least based on what I was looking yesterday or last night, Kubernetes, I believe, is in version 130 something. I think so. That's what I was wondering whether we can do something about that, so the dependencies don't get far behind.
How I forget where we're at now. How far behind are we?
On ramp, I believe, is in 123 something, and Kubernetes is already on 130 something. Right? Yeah, so I believe the same case happens for the others. I haven't, got in details on everything, but I wanted to see whether you have some type of GitHub actions to frequently check for new updates and try to keep
No. The only reason we have historically updated Helm and Kubernetes is because something's broken that required the update.
Okay.
I'm happy to give it a try. And again, I mean, my topmost concern is introducing another variable, and maybe this particular variable fixes everything. That would be ironic, but introducing other variables when what we have is so inconsistent is my biggest concern. I mean, do you know of any features, bugs, or anything that might be missing by not being at 130?
No, I'm not. I'm not aware of any specific issues or fixes that may happen. But newer versions include actually bug fixes and improvements, right? So, and that's what I was wondering. If we keep up
what
to
we ought
date,
to do is occasionally test the latest and see if if it still works. And then, yeah, I could certainly do some tests like that
Mhm.
just to see if it changed anything.
Yeah. So this point is primarily because, for example, in our case, we are going up to date with the SD core, right? So, but I don't think anybody is actually looking into the Kubernetes section updates and any other updates that might be needed from on-ramp itself. Like the issue that I raised on the on-ramp repository, that because of the Ansible version, Ansible is kind of complaining about the Python interpreter and something like that we don't know whether it, in the future is going to be some issues about that, but at least there is a warning in there.
Yeah, I think that particular bug has been there for a long, long time. Or that warning.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't, I mean, as is the case with a lot of aspects of Ether, we don't have any full-time programming on ramp any more than we do anywhere else. So there's sort of prioritize what gets done.
Mm-hmm.
So you had a third. So on the dependencies, let me give the latest version of Kubernetes a try and just see if it works. It's no issue upgrading.
Mm-hmm.
And it probably will, but yeah.
Yeah, regarding the other issue that I have there, so it looks like on-ramp basically is using the same parameters from Ether in a box. So it's still using the OMEC namespace for the deployment. So I was wondering why not, update it to one more.
If that's strictly a matter of changing the namespace in the when we bring it up, that's no problem at all.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna try to open a PR for that. Yeah, I just getting to this because I was again working on the cert manager to try to kind of deploy in its own namespace,
Yeah.
and that's what was coming about this OMEC there. So okay, I'm gonna try to open a PR for that.
Yeah, please do, thanks.
Mhm.
So on the last bullet, the reason I added this here was not to give me an answer to the previous three questions. The real reason I raised this was I believe that if any of the UEs succeed from an integration testing point of view, all the right parts are there. These almost entirely trace back to a problem with either Kafka or MongoDB that one of the UE is one of the U's did not get registered in the database. And so the core doesn't learn about it. That's almost always the thing that fails. And what I was wondering is, it might make sense to bulletproof, I suspect this is the AMF, bulletproof the AMF to make sure, so that it makes sure that the rest of the system is ready for operation before it starts asking questions. A little bit more, is there a more defensive stance that the network functions could take to help address the issue of the whole system is not 100% ready? If you ask once and don't get an answer, you never ask again kind of issue. That first message gets dropped on Kafka, for example. Is there something more defensive that could be done there?
So as far as I remember, so we are doing certain checks in like for init containers. So let me see. Yeah, so for the case of the AMF, it waits for Kafka to come online. Otherwise, it's not gonna continue. And there are other functions that also depend. So for example, the IUSF depends on let me see. Waits on the IUSF. Well, it doesn't make much sense, that one, but I think most of them typically depend on NRF. And I believe NRF depends on, let's see, where are you? Yeah, NRF depends on another one. Yeah, but the AMF does depend of Kafka to be there, but I haven't looked into the Kafka and MongoDB how the dependencies are. But those such checks are supposed to be in place. I can take another look.
And it might be somewhere else that, I mean, for all I know, it's what is the Synapse, is it, that sticks the stuff into the database?
Yes, so that's actually the simplest one. I don't expect that one to wait. Let me see, supervision.
Yeah, maybe there's something simple to do to SIMAP to wait, to cause it to wait till the system's stable before it starts doing its thing. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, let me take a closer look into this. But the few times that I have seen the issue that you mentioned, that only a few UEs pass and the other one's gonna fail, as soon as I go back to the Kubernetes deployment, I have seen that not necessarily all network functions are online, and that's why and some of them took so longer to pull the image from Docker Hub, especially. So those are the issues I have seen. But
so how is it you determined that it was taking too long to pull from Docker Hub?
Because they are still either in init state, or and then when looking into the describe, I still see that they are kind of getting pulled, the image getting pulled or something like that.
So if you're still in the init state, you were then concluding that it's pulling the images.
Yeah, well, not necessarily. So init state and then go into the describe and then see the details, right? But I don't know, in your case for Jenkins, is there a way for you to kind of see what is the get pods from Kubernetes and see their status?
It's really hard to dynamically look at
Okay.
to debug, to do diagnostics on the systems it sets there.
But as part of your GitHub, I'm sorry, as part of your Jenkins jobs, can you print the output of get pods?
Yeah, if you,
so for example,
so it does print out, get that, but not, if it's in the middle of a playbook, there's no way to do it. Once I'm back in, once I'm in the script of the Jenkins job, I print out the namespace all the time, and you can find it in the console dump. But when you're in the middle of a playbook, unless the playbook has a debugging statement in it. So you can so you see what got restarted, but you don't see what state things were in.
Okay. Let's have a call offline, Larry, to see if there is something that we can come up with on this.
So thanks. So the last turn to Iowa State to get the update on the latest with the core and the Ericsson RAN. Joshua.
Yeah, sure. So last week after we have tested with one of our base stations in the field, we started checking with the other 3 base stations we have for the first phase of the project. So we're able to test all the 4 base stations with the SD core, and everything was working fine. So one thing that we are planning to do is that, I mean, currently in the Ericsson core that we are using, we are configuring the SMF to kind of assign like fixed IP addresses to the UEs. So the reasoning is that we have a monitoring platform that we use to monitor the health status of all the UEs that we have. And also we also provide internet connectivity to some of the users on the farm through access points connected to the UEs that we have. So we kind of find it very convenient to have like UEs identified by fixed IPs, so that in the case where like the connection is disrupted and it gets connected again, we don't like have a different IP address, which makes it difficult for us to kind of locate or find that particular UE. So what we are thinking of doing with SD Core is pretty much the same thing. So I was wondering if there's a way we could do that in SD core. So yeah, that is the second bullet point that we have.
I don't think there is such a feature, but I need to double check to make sure. Yeah, I need to go through the code to make sure whether that is whether it is already supported, or if not, to see how much effort it would be to have that supported. Because as far as I remember, if I'm not mistaken, again, it's kind of some time that I was looking into this IP assignment. I believe it's just an incremental value, regardless of the its IMSI itself. But let me take a look to see again whether it's already supported or not, and if not, how much effort it would be. Let me get. Sorry, I saw your message. I'm sorry, I didn't get your message. I didn't see your message yesterday, so I was kind of a little busy with some other stuff. So sorry about that. And let me take a look into this.
All right, sure.
Thanks. Any other news from Iowa State ARA?
Yeah, for the SD run side, we don't have too much progress yet. Yeah, for the last 2 weeks, we mainly focus on another urgent project, but like start from this week, I will go back and hopefully bring some new good news for the SD run side next week.
Okay, great. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, it was a holiday week for many people, so we didn't get a lot done. All right. So is there anything else?
Just one question. I think we missed the first section about the TST election. We were in another meeting, so can you kind of provide a brief summary of what was discussed there?
Well, yeah. So there wasn't a lot because I was hoping Michelle was going to be on, but she sent an email. So there's basically 2 points. One is the voter eligibility list, I believe is done. And I said, if you're on this call and can hear my voice and we're not informed that you're on that list, then you should talk to Michelle and we'll get it squared away, because we do not have 100% certainty we got it right.
Mm-hmm.
And the second is she just sent an email out and nominations are due by Friday. And I don't have the email in front of me, but that's my recollection of it. And that I know there to be 4 nominees. But please let her know if you want, or you know of someone that wants to be on that a nominee for the TST.
So is Gislan already there? The nomination? Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, we got a representative from Purdue, Canonical, Intel Labs, and Iowa State.
Oh, okay, cool. Perfect. Thanks. I don't think I have anything else.
Yeah. Anybody else? All right. Thanks, everybody. See you again next week.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. See you next week.
Bye.